Hello, my name is Mr. Fontenot. Welcome to my YouTube page, Mr. Fontenot 1111. Please like, share, and subscribe. In this video, I'll be calculating the AC values from the Chapter 15 Math handout, problem number 17. So what we have here is a random unknown combination circuit. This one is a little bit different. Now, since we do have all of our resistors, we can still go ahead and find RT first if we would like. That is our first of the RMS steps. So we see here again that R2 and R3 are in parallel. So I'm going to combine R2 and R3 using the reciprocal formula. And I'm just going to bring R1 and R4 straight over for right now. So this gives me 100 ohms, R23 of 132 ohms, and R4 of 68 ohms in series. Where did the 132 ohms come from? By applying the reciprocal formula to R2 and R3. Alright, so now I have these three resistors in series. I just add them together to get my total resistance of 300 ohms. But since I don't have VT, I really can't go any further. Like I said, this one is a random unknown. So I have to think about the construction of this circuit to figure out what my next step would be. Well, I have the value of V3. V2 and V3, R2 and R3, are in parallel with one another. So that tells me that if I have the value of V3, which corresponds to R3, I already have the value of V2 because those two values would be the same because they are in parallel with one another. Now I have 2 out of 3 for I2, so I can apply Ohm's law and divide the V2 by the R2 to get the I2. I can divide the V3 by the R3 to get the I3. So my next step was I solved for I2 and I3. Now, if I think about the way this circuit is made, and I understand that through resistor number 2, I have 42 milliamps flowing right here. And through resistor number 3, I have 28 milliamps flowing. That tells me that when the 42 milliamps and the 28 milliamps comes together, that whatever the sum of those two current amounts is must be my I1 current. So my I1 current is 70 milliamps because if I know this current through R2 and I know this current through R3, both of those currents have to come back together to go from this point through R1 and back home. If I have that much flowing through the main branch at the top here, I must have that much flowing through the main branch at the bottom. So I must have had this much flowing through the bottom as well. So that gives me my I4 value. And since this is the main branch amounts, that must be the total current as well because whatever flows through the main branch is equal to IT. So now I can apply Ohm's law to find VT, V1, and V4. Now I have to simply find my AC values. The first thing I'm asked for is RT, so that is 300 ohms. Next thing I'm asked for is IT peak, so I take my IT RMS value of 70 milliamps times 1.414, and that gives me 98.98 milliamps. Then I'm looking for my VT peak to peak. I have a VT value of 21 volts, So if I say times 1.414, this will give me my VT peak. And if I multiply that times 2, that gives me my VT peak to peak of 59.39 volts. And that is how we work this random unknown circuit, by understanding the construction of the circuit and the way that it's set up. So my final step here was to find V1 and V2.